So, let's expand the conversation. I mean, the president gave at least 6 reasons for withholding his assent. And let's discuss this and more with Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, who joins us from the nation's capital, Abuja. Oh, thank you, Senior Advocate, for staying with us on the program tonight. Well, I mean, we had a very interesting conversation with Governor Dave Umahi, and he says that there are booby traps ahead with this direct primary provision. You have spoken about this, but seeing the examples he gave about litigation, about some of the discrepancies, security, do you maybe see reason?
Well, with profound respect to the president, I've read the reasons adduced, and we have to look at the law, the Electoral Act, the Constitution, as well as our recent experience in democratic practice. In the first place, we have to appreciate that we're not dealing with the internal affairs of the ruling party. We're dealing with the nation. We're dealing with democracy in Nigeria. We're dealing with internal democracy. Under Section 87 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, there is provision for direct or indirect primaries. Direct primaries have been provided for by the law. It's not a it's not a new phenomenon. As a matter of fact, and this is very important for all of us, the first time the APC as a political party adopted direct primary in Nigeria was, I think, 27th of July, 2018, in choosing the governorship candidate of the party in Osun State. And that was how Mr. Boyega Oyetola emerged out of 3 candidates. I think the then Deputy Speaker, Honorable Lasun, and the Speaker of the State, the House of Assembly at the material time, contested. Mr. Boyega Oyetola emerged the winner. There was not a single litigation because the process was open and transparent. With the second time the APC adopted direct primary was on the 29th of September 2018 in choosing the presidential candidate of the party for the 2019 election. The sole candidate at the material time was President Muhammadu Buhari, who won the direct primary. There was not a single litigation in the entire country. So, direct primaries do not lead to litigation unless the process is manipulated. Whereas in the case of indirect primary, our experience has been very terrible. In each of the states, because of allegations of manipulation, imposition of candidates, you have a situation where money bags will take delegates, house them in some hidden hotels. The other candidates will not be able to canvass or campaign to them. Then on the day, at the appointed hour, they were marched from where they have been hidden. Now, that is a mockery of democracy. And when you are discussing, when you want to contribute meaningfully to this debate, it has to be appreciated that there should be no fixation about direct primary. You must look at the entire amendment in totality. In other words, if you have adopted electronic voting, electronic transmission of results, accreditation by electronic means through the use of the card reader, what is the security? Why is anybody talking about security? Just like the general election, will now be conducted, hopefully, by electronic means. You do not need a crowd. And most people would sit in their homes and cast their votes, as it is done in other countries where you practice, bourgeois democracy, and where direct primaries have been adopted. So you are not going to have a crowd. And in any case, even in spite of COVID-19 restrictions, political parties in Nigeria are having mammoth crowds. They are having large rallies. And we haven't had these problems of insecurity as a reason not to conduct election in any part of the country. And therefore, I think there was only the incident in 2015 when the elections were postponed by 6 weeks. Since then, national elections have taken place, primaries have taken place, local government elections have taken place, national elections have taken place. So I would therefore want to suggest that we need to take personal interest, out of this debate so that we can come to a resolution that will advance the democratic process in our country. That's the way I look at it.
Right. So,
because as far as the law is concerned,
please, you can land on that.
As far as the law is concerned, direct primary is part of our electoral act. It's not new. Indirect primary, the new thing is that whereas before, political parties had options. Some have genuinely raised concern that the option was manipulated by certain political interests to the detriment of democracy. And I think this is the position.
Right, so you have sort of picked holes, senior advocate, in some of those reasons given by the president. You touched on security. In fact, you touched on the financial crimes part, where the president expressed concerns about some people perhaps digging their hands into the treasury and the rest. But there's another point that the president made, and I know this is your forte, the area of rights. And the president said that the amendment as proposed, he believes, is a violation of the underlying spirit of democracy, which is characterized by freedom of choices. So restricting the primaries to just direct for the president is essentially taking away the rights, the freedom of choice.
No, on the contrary, you are asking the generality of the people, the members of a political party or members of political parties to take part in choosing those who are going to contest election. That is very, very democratic. And that is in consonance with Section 40 of the Constitution on freedom of association, Section 39 of the Constitution on freedom of choice, so that everybody will have the freedom to choose to participate in choosing those who are going to contest election. Then Section 223 of the Constitution prescribes that elections of principal officers of political parties shall be by democratic means. So when you look at direct primaries, for me, with profound respect, they are a consonance with relevant constitutional provision. And mind you, Section 14 of the Constitution also provides that Nigeria shall practice participatory democracy. So you are not talking of democracy of a few people. Maximum participation by the people. And if everybody will have the opportunity to decide who is going to contest election, and the process is transparent, there will be no litigation. We didn't have litigation in Osun State. In 2018, we didn't have litigation at the national level when President Muhammadu Buhari was chosen by his party to to contest as the presidential candidate in 2019. So we didn't have any litigation. The question of insecurity was not raised by anybody. Nobody, in fact, But on the 30th of September, the following day, the presidency issued a very powerful statement commending the exercise and recommending it to Nigerians. And you can Google, you get it. It was Mr. Garba Shehu that signed the statement on behalf of the presidency. So these new arguments are really not, do not portray the leadership as consistent, whereas the red primary was lauded, was glorified in 2018 for the 2019 election. What has happened now? Except the objections of certain powerful forces. But if it's about democracy, if we are talking about the people, if we are talking of maximum participation of the people, the red primaries are cheaper. Once they are transparent, there will be no litigation whatsoever. With respect to security, people do not have to gather in any place because part of the amendment has made provision. The amendment has made provision for electronic voting. So
well,
you
it's
can
interesting.
stay wherever you are as a member of a political party and cast your vote.
Well, it's interesting you referenced litigation.
And to be electronically transmitted.
So let me take you up on the litigation part.
I can tell you this. I can tell you this. On litigation, I am telling you, indirect primaries that we have practiced or that have been practiced by the parties have led to multiple litigations. But whereas when you had direct primaries in 2018 for the governorship election in Osun State and for the presidential primary, there was no litigation. So the records are there.
Just to put this in context, senior advocates, don't forget that just on Monday, Justice Inyageko of the Federal High Court gave a judgment regarding that primary in Anambra State that touched on the APC and eventually nullified the candidacy of the APC's candidates in that election. And that was essentially a direct primary. So we've had litigations, and it seemed it has ended bad.
Now, if you follow what happened in Anambra State, the members of the party, leading members of the party in that state, came out to tell the whole world that there was no primary. Some people just wrote the result and declared, thousands of votes when there was no primary. So, and that's why I've insisted, once the process is transparent, and I belong to a political movement, the People's Alternative Political Movement, that has studied this situation and has come up with its own finding, and to the effect that indirect primaries have created more problems for the democratic process in the country.
So if this indeed...
Like, the former governor of Sokoto State said, is susceptible to manipulation. People are accused themselves of hijacking the process. And I listened to the governor of Ebonyi State, Governor Umai, with profound respect. He's talking of who owned the party. No, the people must own the political party, not the governor or the legislators, for heaven's sake. Oh, we are on the ground. Are you talking of your programs and manifestos or policies that will attract you to the people? But if it's just about, oh, we are in charge, we pay people, you pay them with government funds, by the way. That will not really make you closer to the people. And we must go back, and I beg you, we must go back to the politics of ideas and ideology, politics of program, not about, who can control, who can, shatter buses to take delegates and have them hidden in hotels. That's not democracy.
So
That's
how
of democracy.
So does this provision then, does it address that issue? Because people will ask you, I mean, what's the much ado about direct or indirect primaries? If the parties themselves don't decide to conduct themselves with integrity, then you can have electronic or the most transparent provisions in the Constitution, but still they will find a way to circumvent it. No,
again, all of us must be prepared. whether we want democracy or dictatorship. If we want democracy, the process must be open and transparent and credible. Once a few people manipulate, we must pursue them and end the culture of impunity in our country. The culture of impunity must be dealt with, and happily, the National Assembly has also worked on Electoral Offences Act, whereby those who make, who manipulate the electoral process, who commit all manners of offenses, who set up young people as thugs, who recruit young people as thugs, will now be dealt with under the law. Once people know that it can no longer be business as usual, everybody will sit up. But once you allow a system that empowers a few people to decide who will contest election at all levels, of course, we are back to state dictatorship, and we should not be allowed. Should not rear its ugly head under a democratic process. So why is anybody afraid, that we should empower the people to participate in choosing or electing their leaders? For me, I'm surprised that people are saying, oh, we prefer indirect primaries, so that the process can be managed by who? The people must manage the process. And that was the purport of Section 87 of the Constitution. That section gave the parties the option whether to adopt direct or indirect primary. It has now been shown that, and it's been proved, that indirect primaries have created problems for the democratic process.
Well, Senior Advocate, I'd like us to wind down on this. I mean, we've talked about things that happened in the past, where we are right now. But regarding the way forward, this document is back at the National Assembly. There are a few options before the Senate and the House of Representatives. And I wonder, for you, are you confident that the House of Representatives and the Senate would perhaps override the president's veto in light of some of these, facts that you have reeled out, or otherwise?
I think once the attention of the National Assembly members is drawn to our recent experience in 2018, particularly by the ruling party, I'm not sure it will be difficult even to convince the president, that some mistakes have been made. Because there was no reference by anybody to what happened in 2018. The impression was given that this is the first time, the ruling party or any political party in Nigeria will adopt the direct primary. So, but now that information is coming out with respect to what happened in the recent past, I don't think there will be any problem, any difficulty in mobilizing the members of the National Assembly to override the veto of the president, and I think so far so good. And they must be encouraged. And that is the beauty of democracy. That's the beauty of democracy. If it doesn't work, we then go back to the drawing table. But let nobody give the impression that this is the first time in the history of Nigeria that we are adopting direct primary to choose, candidates that will contest election in Nigeria. No, that is misleading, grossly misleading. And it should not be allowed. My organization issued a statement yesterday to the fact that the president of our country is a beneficiary of direct primary. The president in October this year endorsed and commended the use of electronic voting. And the president said, but for the accreditation, but for the fact that the 2015 election allow accreditation by electronic means, I might not have won the election. So we now must be consistent. Having commended electronic voting, having participated in primary elections, we must now move to consolidate
Right.
the gains
Well,
of our recent past.
well, we have a few days to find out which way that will swing. But in the meantime, we'd like to thank you so much, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, for sharing your thoughts with us on the program tonight. They've proven very vital. It's been a pleasure speaking with you tonight.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.